Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome my good friend, Tom, where we're going to be talking about self-confidence, health, fitness, and much, much more. So just a quick introduction to Tom. So Tom is a director and producer and now the founder of a new health and fitness campaign called Running on Plants, which encourages participants to take up running and adopt a whole food plant-based diet for the month of June. And Tom and I are good friends who go back to university where we had some good civilized times. Well, not really, but anyway. So, Tom, welcome to the show. Great to have you on here. Obviously, I know you quite well, and you actually were one of the people who helped me with my getting into the whole plant-based diet. And yeah, I could feel the benefits from it when I sort of started getting into a bit of a momentum. So, could you share a little bit with us today about your passion for the area of plant-based diets and actually what got you into it?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Johnny. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. As you say, we go back a few years. Yeah, really happy to be here. So my journey actually was kind of an interesting one, I suppose, because I've never eaten meat, never eaten animal products, and when I was raised that way as a kid, I didn't really think anything of it. It was just normal. But at some point, I got into veganism because I saw the welfare side of things, but also the health benefits. I'd heard a lot about. I was having a lot of dairy, and I'd heard dairy could do really bad things to the body, and wasn't really meant for us as humans. You know, we're the only species really that would actually drink milk from another animal. And started looking into all these things, and essentially, I thought I'd try it, and I felt fantastic. And the key thing was I adopted a whole foods plant-based diet. So I do think it's quite easy to be a healthy vegan and an unhealthy vegan, particularly with all the delicious, don't get me wrong, the delicious sort of vegan junk food,
Oh
meat
yeah.
alternatives and all of this that exists, but have a few too many of them. And I think, you're probably not going to be doing yourself too much good. So, but I stuck to like the whole food approach, and yeah, I mean, I immediately felt the benefits, and that kind of got me on the path to really just exploring what I could actually achieve then going down this route. And as you say, I remember I mentioned it to you probably back in 2018, was it? And
Yeah.
you've been on a similar path.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's and you're doing some amazing things now to get it out there. And I know we've all got like different preferences, but it's great to hear in terms of diet and what we eat. You know, there's so many out there, but it's great to hear what the benefits you've got from it. And yeah, I can definitely feel it. I totally relate to the pro whether you're vegan or not, the processed stuff and how it can impact on you like energy. It counts for the vegan side as well, definitely. And unfortunately, they're processing some tasty stuff. So the whole foods definitely.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, everyone likes to tuck into a nice burger or something now and then, don't you? And I think now
Mm.
and then as a treat, like, it is fine to do that. It's just minimizing that and understanding that that's not going to be optimal for your health. You know, as long as you recognize that, you can kind of control it and not get carried away with it. And we're all guilty of it now and then, and I think it's okay to accept that, but just be aware of it, which is what I try and say to people. And also, don't beat yourself up if you do kind of slip up and have something like that, then it's fine. Just try and then get back on the right path after. Don't think, well, I've done it once, that's it. I'm just gonna throw it all out the window, and this is how I'm going to eat forever now. There's no point, because that's not going to get us anywhere. So it's just trying to stay controlled with it and stay motivated and disciplined. And at some point as well, what I found was, which is kind of leading to the whole running on plants thing.
Mm.
I've been a runner for a long time. We actually met in our third year of uni at the
Mm.
athletics team. We were both joining the athletics team at the same time, if you remember.
Yeah.
And we used to go sprinting at Don Valley before they knocked it down. Had some good memories there, Johnny.
Yeah.
But I running's always been a big part of my life, and I noticed when I went vegan, all my quickest times happened. And obviously, I was the oldest I'd ever been, because that's how aging works. And I'd
Oh yeah.
but because I'd like adopted this, what I would consider like a really healthy approach to my eating, my dietary habits, yeah, my times just went down and down and down. I got all PBs in everything I was doing, And I was like, there must be something in this. So, and I just felt fantastic. I had more energy. I was sleeping better. I was generally more active throughout the day as well. And I was wanting to do more because of it. And I just felt happier as a result. And I put it all together and I thought, what if we can basically introduce this kind of feeling to others, to try and get people moving their bodies, preferably running if they can, but just moving their bodies is still fine. There's so much evidence to suggest that moving is good for our mental and physical well-being. And then also taking on these other really healthy lifestyle changes, like trying to adopt, a mainly whole food plant-based diet. I thought, imagine what we could do with that and the difference that we could make with people's health and how they feel, just about themselves, but also how they're projecting themselves to others. And yeah, that's kind of where the idea was born, just trying to help others basically feel what I felt by taking on this way of life.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's amazing. Like the getting your PBs and starting noticing that differences, little things, and then obviously now this is the message you're getting out to people to kind of share what you've got going on with people. So just obviously the podcast we look at obviously self-esteem, confidence, mindset, those kind of things, and you said you talked a little bit about well-being there. Like for your self-esteem, like how your relationship to yourself have you found like a different have you found a change in your relationship with yourself or your self-esteem as a result of like up leveling, or I should say, your health and fitness from this approach?
I definitely have actually, because I think there's a few angles to come at this from. So on the one side, because I've tried to take like a more compassionate approach to my dietary habits. So obviously trying to avoid animal products has meant that I'm more conscious of what I eat, and by doing that, I feel like uh, I've let compassion into other areas of my life, and that's also towards myself as well, and acknowledge that
Mm.
I'm not. Yeah, of course, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and that's okay. And of kind of understanding that we're okay to be imperfect. That's how we're pretty much designed as humans. And so there's definitely been a connection because of trying to be as compassionate as I can be, making sure that that reflects on myself as well, and appreciating who I am and what I'm trying to do. And I also think from the running side of things, the act of getting outside, getting with, as part of nature, getting out in the daylight, sunlight, getting out on the trails, running, just moving, clearing my head, being alone with my own thoughts and having time to wind down and think, like that is, I cannot describe the mental clarity that gives me. And, that is like I would say that's probably like my therapy. So if ever I've had a stressful day, if ever I feel like, oh, I need to uplift myself. I need something to get me out of this rut that I'm feeling. I'll get outside and I'll go for a run. Or even if I just go for a walk, I'll get outside and I'll do some moving. And, the my well-being has benefited so much as a result of that. So I think combining these factors is just like a win-win for me. Helps on a physical level, it helps up with regards to like my mental health as well.
Mm. And is there like certain feel like your mental health, like obviously we talked about, I definitely can relate to the running thing. It's amazing, it does wonders, and kind of been doing a lot recently, as obviously we were talking about. With the diet, like, or the nutrition side, I prefer that word. um do you do you find like there's certain foods that have impacted like your mood in the past that make you either feel better or make you feel worse? I just kind of wanted to touch on that specifically and get your thoughts on it.
Oh, 100%. I prefer nutrition to diet as well. I agree. um, but like going back to, like the junk food, because there's an abundance of like vegan junk food, but this applies
Mm,
to all junk food, vegan or non-vegan. But obviously, I only eat the vegan type of junk food. But when I eat that stuff, like I have a proper crash. I feel terrible. I really do. I'll enjoy it at the time, and then like after, I'll be like, oh, why have I done this to myself? It makes me feel sluggish. I probably end up feeling, sometimes you get food guilt, which you shouldn't get, but occasionally you can't help it, and then you think, wow, I shouldn't have eaten that. I didn't need it, or whatever it might be. And that's like always an immediate reminder to me that like that's I'm not really doing myself any good by eating that. And so I always try and remember that thought going into it. Now, that's not saying that, as I said before, you should never treat yourself to stuff like that, because I think also there's an element of you don't want to permanently restrict yourself if you are in like maybe a social situation, and actually the benefits of sort of joining in outweigh the sort of the negatives of sort of leaving out, or basically taking yourself out of the situation. So I think it's like striking the right balance, basically, which is what I try and do. But yeah, 100%. And on the flip side, so for example, like I'll get up in the morning, I'll have a big bowl of porridge, put some flaxseed on there, have banana, maybe some berries, and I eat that, and immediately I feel energized and like ready for the day. Like it could be that I'm in an hour or two, I'm off for a run, or it could be that I'm just going straight to work and getting on with stuff. But if I have that breakfast, it's almost like I know I've set myself up for the day, and I've kind of started as I mean to go on. And by doing that, I think you're effectively setting yourself up for success. That's how I view it. It's like, this is how I want the rest of my day to be. I'm starting at this level, and I kind of want to maintain this. It's just simple things like that. And because I think, breakfast is such an important meal as well, if we're sort of talking about nutrition. And if you were to get up and you were going to have like a bacon butty, and it's all been fried and it's sort of packed with saturated fats, that's, to me, just, it's like starting your day on a low immediately. You're starting your day on basically feeding yourself a food that's declared as an actual known carcinogen. And I don't know, it just doesn't, that approach, like, I just think, you're kind of setting yourself up for, a not so great day. Whereas a simple swap in what you're having for breakfast and giving your body what it needs, you're going to thrive. And not just feeling good, you'll feel better mentally as well, and you probably think better, and you probably work more efficiently. It's like a knock-on effect.
Yeah, I love a bowl of porridge personally as well. It's all good. Yeah, with the it's interesting. There's sometimes certain foods for me personally that impact me emotionally. So like, you could get, for me personally, there's some things that make me a bit more anxious, and as well as the mental performance of like the brain fog and things like that. So having like too much sugar sometimes that can create, like, for me personally, a little bit. But then it's things like fresh fruit, you feel like energized and ready to go. So yeah, I can relate to the impact of emotions as well, from certain foods.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's so important, and we overlook it so much, I think. Like, but really we shouldn't, because you're literally fueling your body with it. So of course it's going to have a big impact on you.
Yeah, I think it's like, obviously on this, what I've been trying to touch on a little bit more, sorry, on the podcast in general, I'm trying to touch on a bit more is what you're feeding your brain and your brain health a little bit, for those emotions, rather than just, you could do that mindset stuff and just, whether it's like journaling, the meditation, whatever someone's preference is. But it's, for me personally, and what I've discovered from talking to other people, it's like 10 times harder if you just shoved in a load of chocolate into your mouth or some kind of processed rubbish. It's like you need both aspects. Personally, for me, you need like the health, and then you need the mind stuff, the psychology work you're doing on yourself as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. There's not one quick fix, is there? That's what I think anyway. Like, everything kind of complements the next thing. So it's trying to, I guess, work in harmony with all these other things, and utilize them all to the point where you're kind of being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for your share on that one. Tom, I wanted to ask a little bit about like the idea of like overwhelm with all this stuff. So someone's like inspired to make a change and they want to, they look at all this information out there. It's like there's so much. It's like, do this diet, no, do this diet, no, do this exercise. This exercise will lose your weight. This exercise will help you gain muscle. And it just gets a little bit confusing for someone who perhaps they realize the importance of the health and fitness and the impact that could have on their physical and mental health. Where would you guide them to start, like in that level of overwhelm?
Yeah, it's a good question because I felt that myself in the past as well.
Mm.
And there's so much contradictory information out there as well. So,
Mm.
like, the one thing that I learned quickly is you've always got to be conscious of the source material and where you're getting this information from, and never take anything at face value. So, like, for people listening to me, for example, like, don't just take my word for it. Like, obviously, I would use this as a tool to then do your own research about nutrition and actually find out and then kind of form your own decisions, because that's what I did. But I would say, so, I mean, running on plants.org, we have tons of resources. So we partnered with plant-based health professionals, and we've also partnered with Switch for Good over in America. And what we've done there is we've put together an abundance of nutritional information. So, say, for example, if you wanted to learn the best foods to avoid coronary heart disease, or you wanted to figure out what kind of foods to eat to avoid or reverse type 2 diabetes, or any of the sort of leading chronic diseases, you can find all of that out on our website or on Plant-Based Health Professionals' website. And these are like, this is peer-reviewed scientific literature. So this is what I mean when I say, like, look at the sources and look at where you're getting this information from, and make sure that it is above board and it's not like tarnished because it's been funded by someone who might have a hidden agenda or that kind of thing.
Mm.
So it's about finding the platform where you can take in this actually this accurate information. And so, as I say, if you were to check running on plants.org, you would find all the nutritional information you need. You'd then find other various things that could support your transition. So you'd find lots of recipes. You'd find, for that campaign in particular, you would find like a big training plan to help you run. So you'd have like a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced. So you can make those changes as well. So kind of everything's in one place for you there to hopefully make it digestible and also make it quite an easy switch for you. And then it's just a case of signing up in this instance and taking on the Running on Plants challenge for the month of June. But ultimately, it goes down to finding a place to get that information and make sure it's reliable. And so that's where the work of like plant-based health professionals is just amazing. And for those who don't know, that's a network of doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, all in the UK, and there's like over 1,000 as part of them. So a really great resource for medical workers who are sort of coming together to try and educate the public on the benefits of eating a whole food plant-based diet.
Mm. No, so looking forward to running on plants, and yeah, I like what you said about looking at the source, actually where you got it from, rather than just the theories and actually results and things like that. So has that been quite a big impact on your journey personally, being able to actually surround yourself with people and experts like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, so in my I'm a filmmaker in my day job, if you like, and I'm kind of fortunate that I get to go around and film people who are more knowledgeable than me.
Mm.
And what that means is I'm always learning. And so I, whatever the situation might be as well, like it could be something to do with nutrition, but it could be something entirely different that had nothing to do with. Like recently, I was filming someone about breath work, and I knew very little about breath work or the
I love
importance of
it.
of breathing and what it can do for you. So it was fascinating for me, and that's like the beauty of doing what I do. I get to meet all these various professionals from different walks of life, and I feel like I then am educated as a result of that. And still, I'll go back to say what before I said before, though. So what it does is it prompts me to then go on my own journey of learning, because I never take anything at face value. I'll always then go and do my own research. But still, more often than not, I find that this expert is accurate in what they're saying, and then they've effectively taught me some really valuable tips and tricks, and I can then take that and put it into practice in my own life. So that's been a big thing for me, especially making films. Like I feel quite privileged that I get to do that.
That's awesome. No, we are like there's a Jim Rohn who's one of the godfathers of personal growth. He always says success leaves clues, which is a great quote. It's to learn from people all the time, and then surrounding yourself with. And yeah, what I kind of add to that, just to make a note on it, whether we're talking about your health and nutrition or like I don't know, making money or relationships or whatever, and it relates to self-confidence. Make sure you always check the source, whichever area, what results are they getting? What evidence have they got to back it up? So I just wanted to kind of like touch on that because people love to give advice, but you've always got to check the source. So it's like me giving advice on parenting, like not a parent.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, that's it. And also, it's about trial and error as well, because we're all different at the end of the day, and what works for one person might not necessarily work for the next, or might not work for you. So it's about finding. You might be able to take a little bit of what somebody's saying and then kind of adapt it to suit your particular needs as well. So, and it's enjoying that process as well, because it will be a process in figuring out what works for you. So, yeah, but you kind of learn that over time, and I think that's the really interesting thing about being open to like taking on new information, because some people, for whatever reason, they're not, and they're kind of closed off with it, and they just think, I've already made my mind, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, and there'll be no logical reason for why they would think that. And so I always try my best to, even if I think I disagree with someone, I'll still hear them out, because I'm like, I owe them that much to at least listen to their side of the argument, or their story, or their opinion. And then at least I've heard that, and I can share my opinion. And even if we disagree, at least we can have a discussion about it. So I try and take that approach usually.
Yeah, got you. Okay, that's love that perspective. A couple more things, Tom. I like when starting off. I want to talk a little bit about comparison, and maybe if you've experienced it in like training and running, or like the whole vegan diet, or even filmmaking. In this world, obviously, there's lots of people doing lots of different things. Is there anything that's helped you not compare yourself to like other people, like vegan athletes and all those kind of individuals? Because, for example, like we could look at Nimai Delgado and then go, I never know if I say the surname correctly. I probably didn't. Maybe
I
I
think
did.
that was right. Yeah.
I think I was correct. But yeah, you could look at him and go, geez, that guy is like stacked and he's in proper shape, and I'll never be like that. But I don't. I just go, this is great. I'm doing pretty good, and always wanted to my journey. Is there any way? Because comparison is a big challenge with our self confidence and in life. So, is there anything that's helped you kind of not do that so much?
Yeah. It's interesting. At some point, because I remember I used to be terrible for this when I was younger, especially like in my early 20s. At some point, though, and I'm trying to remember what it was that maybe made me stop doing this. But at some point, basically, I just thought, you know what, I'm me, and that's who I am, and I have to get used to being me, because I'm only ever going to be me. And I
Yeah,
was like, this is the way I look, this is the way I am. I was like, there's things in my control, there's things not in my control. So it's like, say most people are somewhat self-conscious of how they look, for example. So I think I kind of flipped that and thought, well, there are things about the way I look that I can't change, unless maybe I spent a load of money, which I'm not going to do. Or there are things that I can change, and the things that I can change are like, I can maybe take better care of myself. I can try and get myself in reasonable shape, whatever that is, because that's a relative term to you, to everyone, isn't it? And I thought, okay, I'll try and control what I can control, and I can be a nice person. I can be a compassionate and kind person. I can be polite to people, and I think what it was I was thinking about what I say my friends and my colleagues and associates, and I was like, what do I like about them, or what do I remember about them after I've spent some time with them? And it's never how they look, for example. It's never something superficial like that. It's always, oh, they're a really nice person, or they're really funny, or they make me laugh for these reasons, because they tell these jokes, or actually they make me feel really good about myself because they ask me lots of questions about me. So I remembered that, and I thought, well, what are people going to remember about me then? It's probably not going to be, oh, he looks like this or that. The things that you might think in your own head, people are thinking. It's probably actually, oh, he's a really nice person. I like talking to him. He took an interest and he was funny. And so I think once I kind of got my head around that, I thought, all right, let's not overthink this. Let's just try and be a good, decent human being, because I think as long as we can do that, everything else will probably fall into place.
gotcha. No, love that. And only you can be you. That's a key takeaway I took out. You can only be you. As simple as it is, it's very profound.
Oh, thanks, Johnny.
So yeah, love it. So Tom, just as we sort of like wrap up, can you tell us a little bit about where people can find you and touch on the running on plants again and how people can get involved in that.
Absolutely. So the idea of running on plants really is just to encourage participants to adopt a whole food plant-based diet as much as possible and take up running for the month. So what we want you to do is sign up at runningonplants.org. There you'll get an abundance of nutritional information. You'll get a training plan that can be adapted to your needs. You'll have recipes. There'll be live cook-alongs. There'll be loads of resources and support. You then log a 5K on the 1st of June. So that is your benchmark time. So we know where you're at the start. Go through the month following the training plan and the recipes and all the nutritional information. Get to the end of the month and you log your second 5K and you hopefully celebrate your new speedy 5K time. And if you can't run, or if you maybe have a previous injury, or maybe you want to do a different discipline, that's absolutely fine. The main purpose of this is to encourage you to get out and move in your body and just sort of trying to become a fitter, healthier version of yourself and just feel the benefits and what that brings for your physical and mental well-being. So even if you want to walk your way through the month, you can absolutely do that. That's fine. If you can run, we would encourage you to, because then you've kind of got these tangible goals that you can aim for with the 5K. And so sign up at runningonplants.org and you'll get everything you need there. And then you can follow our social channels as well and stay up to date with everything we're doing.
Awesome. We'll be sure to link those in the show notes as well, so people can get some more information and jump into that. So once again, Tom, a massive thank you for coming on today.
It's my absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Johnny. We don't do it enough, do we? And make sure you go and sign up for Running on Plants.
Yeah, absolutely. Me included. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.